Well, hi guys, welcome to this Facebook Live right here from the ET Now newsroom in Mumbai. Just wanted to give you guys a mid-market perspective and an update on the markets thus far. Not just for today, but also for the week. It's been a week of consolidation for the markets. And even in today's session, you can make out how the index is hovering around 10,300 for the Nifty. For the broader markets also, we are looking at a lot of stock-specific action, but the indices per se are in a bit of a range. It's going to be an action-packed week, the coming week, of course, with lots to talk about. We have an expiry at hand too. So there's going to be much to talk about from the market standpoint. Also, remember, we are closing out the year in a month's time. And so, a lot of big voices, influential voices will be giving out their global market outlook for 2018. So be watchful of those notes coming in. In fact, some of those notes have already come in. Goldman Sachs is very bullish on India. They've already highlighted that. They believe that, the growth trends are only going to pick up into the next year. And you've had CLSA. We had Chris Wood come out with a special note saying that he believes that the upcoming Gujarat election will be dominated by the BJP party, that they will win the elections with a thumping majority, and that will just strengthen their position at the centre, which will also make Prime Minister Narendra Modi focus on job creation over the course of the next 2 years into the run-up to the term elections in 2019. Okay, Ram Kishore has sent in a question, and of course I'll be waiting for more questions coming in from our followers and our viewers. Would do my best to give you guys as much perspective as possible to take a wiser investment decision. Ram Kishore has written in. He wants to know, can we expect the same selling in part 2 of the day? Part of the selling pressure and the kind of nervousness or caution that we're seeing in the market has to do a bit with what's happening in China, a bit of a rub-off impact. And Ram, remember, the markets have run ahead, so any excuse will be used as an excuse to sell off. The markets can do with a little bit of coming off from the recent peaks. So you're looking at China. They've put in some lending curbs, when it comes to the lending rules in the market there, in the economy there. China is a very high debt economy. We already know that. The world has been talking about how the credit problem in China is a ticking time bomb. S&P, of course, downgraded China's sovereign rating as well just a couple of months back. So they have their own concerns, and I think the authorities there are trying to figure out what's the best way to ensure that there are no systemic risks to the system. So I think part of the sell-off or the step back that we would witness in our markets would be because of Asian markets being on tenterhooks, and China being a major market, one of the key markets in Asia. And there could be a bit of a sentiment impact coming in from there. The US markets are shut, so till Thanksgiving weekend is the long weekend, so till we come back on Monday, we will not have clarity on what kind of global cues we are handed with. But this afternoon, do take that on board. Hitisha has asked me about how will the S&P ratings impact the markets next week. Well, I think the S&P rating review is yet to come by. I'll tell you what the street talk is on that front. S&P is already highlighted. The day Moody's upgraded India's sovereign rating, S&P already highlighted. And remember, world over, S&P and Moody's have a lot of impact and influence when it comes to how investors perceive a region, given what these rating agencies have to say about the credit worthiness of any nation. So S&P has said the day when Moody came out with their upgrade that they are still looking at India's fiscal situation very closely to understand whether India can meet its fiscal deficit targets, whether the consolidation plan will continue to look as tight as the government has promised, whether the government will be able to keep its expenditure under check, and will be able to benefit from a higher tax to GDP ratio with GST rollout playing out over the course of the next 6 months in the closeout of the year. So those are the factors that S&P has said that they are focused on. Moody's, on the other hand, said while all of this is happening, they were primarily concerned about the banking system, and the government's recap plan has addressed that concern. And so they are confident that growth is going to pick up, and the macro situation same time next year is going to look a lot better for the Indian economy. So, we will have to see what the S&P says. The market believes that there may not be an upgrade. That's the street talk that we are gathering. They may not be an upgrade, but they might sound more positive about India's economic outlook. Rajiv Yadav has asked me about the views on Grah Finance. Rajiv, the NBFC space, we were talking in our newsroom also about how there is a lot of action happening there. Today we found out that JM Financial has been given the registration for a housing finance business, so another player coming into the market. We've had a slew of housing finance companies get listed, and housing finance is just one division of the entire NBFC space, right? The financing sector. You have auto financing, you have transport financing. It's all over the place. So, and microfinancing, of course, is another big theme. So, most of these companies, as we all understand, are trading at very steep valuations. So, when you're looking at Grah Finance or any other financing business, you have to look at it in the context of what kind of growth are they promising, and they can deliver, given that competition is also picking up. Competition in any sector, when it really picks up, as you would understand, it would lead to each of these players wanting to grab more market share, and what kind of strategy do they devise in that sort of an environment needs to be assessed. So keep in mind the valuations, keep in mind the potential of growth and the actual growth that they can deliver. Those three variables will give you a sense of whether you want to take a call on the financing business, and within that the housing finance segment. Okay, let me take one more question. Girish has asked about Motherson Sumi L&T Finance to hold or quit. Girish, I'm not qualified to tell you about whether to hold or quit, but I can give you perspective on these companies. Motherson Sumi, we had Mr. Vivek Chand Sehgal come in a couple of days back and say the US business is doing well, you have the European business doing well, and Motherson Sumi is a stock. I mean, you can see the way the stock has rallied this year. That just tells you what the market is feeling about the business as well. Auto ancillaries continue to be performers on the back of great auto demand, not just in India but globally as well. So be mindful of that move, and then look at it again from a valuation standpoint. If the stock has run up this much, do you still want to stay put, or do you want to book some profits, or do you want to ride the wave? So that's a call that you need to entirely take, but it's a business which is still delivering, and the management is very confident of the growth going forward, especially the growth that they derive from their overseas business. L&T Finance, again, things have been turning around for L&T Finance. They have made few changes. I don't completely have a handle on the intricate details about the business turnaround, but the recent numbers have looked good, and I think a couple of brokerages have also sounded upbeat on L&T Finance, making small acquisitions or talking about expansion and gaining market share. I think things have been working well for L&T Finance, and I think that's what a lot of brokerages are capturing in their recent notes as well. Chakradhar is asking for a view on Jet Airways. Chakradhar, I've always said this in the past, that the first parameter to judge an aviation business by is how they're managing their costs around oil prices, right? ATF prices. And so if oil prices continue to move up, if the trend is expected to be strong on the upside for oil prices, then that will get reflected in ATF prices as well, and then aviation companies will have to adjust to that new reality, because that's a major raw material cost for them. However, if prices continue to get capped here, then they would be able to manage around those costs and be able to protect their margins. So it's really a view on oil prices and the impact of that on aviation companies' margins that one needs to take. Other than that, there is a lot of news flow on Jet Airways. They're looking at tie-ups. They've already had some strong tie-ups overseas with Etihad and other international airlines. So they are expanding their presence globally. They're also looking at more connectivity in India. And so, given that news flow, one would imagine that, Jet Airways is in the right space. But Nikunj, my colleague, who all of you very well know of, Nikunj Dalmia, we were making the point one day on The Market, which is our morning show from 8 to 11, which you guys must definitely tune into, that if you're looking at India and if you're looking at the Indian aviation sector, the domestic segment offers more potential, whether it's Indigo or SpiceJet or any one of these businesses, because that's where the growth is likely to come in. Vistara has come into the fore. New airlines are wanting to launch in India and set up shop. Even foreign airlines are starting, routes through India. So that just shows that there is a big demographic play out here, and the big market is really the domestic market. The government is of course doing its bit to improve interconnectivity, and I think that's a theme that one needs to kind of bet on once they're looking at investing in the aviation sector. Whether you're big on the domestic aviation sector or whether you're big on a domestic player going international, that's a call you need to take. But it's interesting to see how the volumes for domestic airlines will pick up. The ticket prices are going to perhaps move up as well, if of course oil prices edge higher. And how the passenger travel rates will help in bringing about more business for these airlines. So that's a call that you need to take. Okay, Hardik has asked about any views on the auto sector. If you could, tell me what specifically you want to know about the auto sector, I would help you with that perspective. But the auto sector, Hardik has been a strong play on the consumption theme in India. I mean, there's no way to take your eyes off from what Eicher Motors and Maruti have done in the in this year, 3-year period, 5-year period. Just look at those charts. Just Google, look at those charts, and you will know that the auto sector is the sector that has not disappointed. Let me put it like this: it has not disappointed investors at all. Ashok Leyland has started moving. Look at the year-to-date chart there. Again, in the commercial vehicle segment. Then you have M&M, where the tractor volumes have really picked up. Their SUV product mix has looked good. They're making a fair amount of changes out there. So those are the themes that one needs to watch out for. Jamna Auto, Hardik, again, the auto space, the auto ancillary space, they're all combined. I can't talk stock specific, but I can tell you this much, that it's all correlated. If one is taking a bullish call on autos, then one needs to also, in a broader sense, take a bullish call on auto ancillaries and related businesses. So that's the theme that most analysts we speak to, fundamental analysts we speak to, believe that despite valuations, the growth is so strong that these companies will be compounding investments for investors such as yourself. I just wanted to take one more question. I think it was a question broadly on. Okay, I'm just trying to search through that one. Okay. Rohit had written in, is a good time to enter into Marksans Pharma. Rohit, I keep repeating for the benefit of all our followers on Facebook, followers on Twitter, as well as our viewers, that pharma is a very individual story. They've had multiple issues with the US FDA, some marquee names. Marksans Pharma, I don't recall at the back of my mind the year-to-date performance, but it has, I think, done its bit in the year so far. So you need to evaluate the quality of the business, the ANDAs that they have, the drug pipeline, the markets they address, and whether or not any one of their facilities are under the US FDA scanner. Also, how much exposure do they have to the US market, and what kind of competition are they facing there, which would then compromise on their pricing and thereby on the margin. So those are the few factors that one needs to take in mind when they're evaluating a pharma business, and that's what I would suggest for you to do when it comes to making a call to invest in Marksans Pharma. Guys, I'm completely out of time. I'm really sorry. That's all I could. Those are the only questions that I can take today. But we will be back on Monday, 4 p.m. after the market shut, and we will answer your queries. Thanks very much for joining us on this Facebook Live, and have a great weekend.